All right. What is good, everybody? Welcome to Wyckoff Sundays, episode 20. Okay, doing it a little bit early today. All right, we're going to be tapping into, obviously, as always, what we saw happen last week. What panned out, what didn't for what we were looking for, and then from there, we're going to talk more about, what we could end up seeing for the coming week. All right, guys. So, first and foremost, as always, we're going to be talking about dollar, and then we're going to be going into a lot of the major dollar pairs after that, right? So let's go ahead and get into it. So, first and foremost, last week, one of the biggest things that we were looking for was to see the dollar index, kind of retrace, right? Take a little bit back from, NFP's crazy price action, which is really just, again, like really big, impulse to the upside, right? So just seeing how we had, two huge bullish candles, right? Really with no breaks, no pullbacks, no nothing. Our idea was really, again, just to see us pull back into an area of imbalance, which was this area right here, right? And then from there, hopefully see if price can accumulate for us again to then go ahead and go long, right? So essentially our first idea was for dollar to go down and then to retrace and continue to the upside, right? And we do see that dollar did pretty well to do that. We do have essentially first, pretty much when the week started out, we had a little bit of a mini distribution happening here, right? And then after that, we ended up seeing the market go ahead and have a push back down into the area of imbalance that we were really looking for, right? So this is our full blue zone here that we were looking for that imbalance to fill, right? I believe that's what we drew here as well. Where is it at? Yeah, right there, right? So this zone here we were looking for our first zone. The second zone over here was pretty much just seeing us break below these different areas here as well, right? So that's kind of the idea, for this. So if we end up seeing dollar, again, either one, retrace back into here, or two, we might see a full-on reaccumulation. But we'll talk about what we can potentially see, going forward. But yeah, that was basically the idea. So we did see an initial push down, right? There were some buy opportunities in here because there was like a 15-minute institutional candle in this level. We thought about going for it, right? We thought about going for, the retracement here that we can see, which was this trap candle. But firstly, it was very quick. And secondly, there wasn't really enough confirmation for me to really long from here, not to mention the fact that we had not finished filling the full 4-hour imbalance, right? So for me, it was kind of out of the question. And then even here, but later on there was a retracement, right? Really nice sweep. And again, both of these happened on really good timing, right? We can see this low here is at about 9:30 and this low here is also at around 9:30. So New York session, again, really giving buy opportunities during the week that kind of aligns with what we were looking for, kind of getting into the imbalance and then starting to go higher, right? From there, for me, I started to look for sell opportunities after we started to break this high. But unfortunately, because the actual sell happened so late in the session, I believe that we didn't actually end up. I did end up catching this. Sorry, yeah, we ended up looking at EU for this short here, right? So we did end up getting a push to the downside, and the real reason for that short was just again having these lows get taken, right? Seeing us get back and actually properly fill these levels down here was really the main idea. Now we've really gone ahead and done that, right? We did it in a much more impulsive way, obviously, than I thought we would. But again, still really good to see that now we're going to go ahead and fill that level. So on some of the bigger time frames, this low is pretty decent, right? It's really not bad at all. We end up having a really nice 4-hour down candle here, and since then we've been holding. So I do wonder if we might even end up seeing this continue, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. But we did perfectly now go ahead and fill the imbalance that we did speak about on Wyckoff Sundays last week, right? So either one, we end up seeing longs from this level, right? Or two, again, like our second option was, like maybe we end up taking some of this internal liquidity, right? Getting back into this extreme area here, which is the reaccumulation from previously. And if that's the case, then bless. We're going to go ahead and have a really easy opportunity to long from. And if not, then we'll go ahead and try and follow up, again, like I said, inside of this imbalance up here, right? So those are really the two main zones I'm looking for to see dollar continue its move up, right? As we obviously know, we are kind of looking at, this whole zone here on what dollar has been doing as a potential accumulation, right? We've been talking about this since Wyckoff Sundays episode, like 2 or 3 since the war started. We just been looking to long dollar, and yeah, it's looking pretty good now. It looks like we might have formed our LPS, so we're looking to continue to do so until we reach our full target at about 102.0. For those of you guys that don't know what we've been kind of looking for long term here on Wyckoff Sundays, right? And yeah, does look like we're going to get that. So we'll go ahead and see how this ends up playing out, and we'll talk a little bit more about this later on, right? Now, to align with that, we were looking for things like, Euro USD shorts. I did end up going for longs inside of this area here. But yeah, we first had, again, good push to the upside, right? Nice institutional candle here, right? Unfortunately for me, on Wyckoff Sundays last week, we were looking for more this side of this, right? We might still see this, right? Depending on whether dollar wants to go ahead and, sweep again, or if this ends up being the bottom, then it probably won't. But if dollar does do another sweep, then again, we might still see that zone. But honestly, we could definitely still sell off without needing to reach there. But we'll see how everything pans out there. We did end up having a buy opportunity down here. Again, mostly based off of the fact that dollar had not filled its imbalance yet. So when price got up here, we were looking for the longs down here on Euro USD, right? And so yeah, we ended up catching a pretty good move there. Some people caught the same move on GU instead, which was again that long push to the upside. And this is the GU zone as well that we were looking for, is up here in this level, right? So could be an interesting place for us to see the markets either potentially sell off again. If we are to again continue our bias for the dollar longs, then we might be able to see that happen, right? We might be able to see that happen. So yeah, EU, that's what we were looking for. This zone, we didn't quite get up there yet, but we are very close right now. GU as well, we didn't quite get there yet, but we are very close, right? So I believe, where's your USD? We'll go ahead and fast forward to that here. Yeah, so this was really the zone we were looking for there on Euro USD, daily time frame, trap candle as well, right? And then when we look at GU, it was really the same idea. Again, just kind of retracements back up into the level, and then potentially back down into here was really the target, right? So our idea, again, longer term, is for GU to definitely reach this level down here. So I do think, again, these current lows that we've created probably, again, we're expecting not to hold, right? We're expecting to see that really go ahead and, push to the downside here, right? So hopefully, guys, hopefully we can see this, take place for us, right? Now, so that's EU, that's GU, right? Looks like we looked here at NU as well. Again, not really too much there, though. Again, really we were just kind of aligning it the same way, right? Which is, again, just continuing to see dollar buys, just seeing a pullback from NFP, zones as well, right? So again, now we've had a little bit of a pullback here. Can we see reaccumulations happen? That's what we'll talk about a little bit later on. USD CAD has just been ripping it to the upside beautifully. So yeah, USD CAD, USD Chef, right? UJ, right? Same idea. Again, we had the sweeps down here, so really just looking to see that continue. And then there's gold, right? So gold ended up seeing a very big change in price. So we ended up eventually reaching down towards these levels, right? Again, like we said before on previous episodes of Wyckoff Sundays, if we did break through this zone here, right? That was really the point where we would start to think, okay, maybe we actually are going to be heading to the downside. And when it broke heavy, right? We can see that the market came down to here, and then at the beginning of this week, we ended up having a little bit of a redistribution here from this level. So I believe that's this week, right? Let me double check this day. Yeah, the 9th. Yeah, that's definitely this week. So on Tuesday, we ended up having a high happen right here, right? And then we ended up selling off pretty crazy, right? Going all the way down to 4,000. So it was like a, what is that, 3,000 pip move last week to the downside, right? And I believe that's really what we were thinking could probably continue when we were talking about this, right? Unless we were to see the thing engulf, right? But I believe we changed our bias, if I'm not mistaken. Let's go ahead and listen to what Buddy said here. Trend, then that's what we have to follow, right? So, but like I said, for now, I'm kind of, like I said, taking a wait and see approach on gold. If we do end up seeing some good lower time frame manipulations, like at the beginning of this week, probably rather, we're slowly getting back into that level. I really thought that we could end up seeing that hold, right? But obviously, we're just speculating here with a lot of this stuff, right? In terms of where we can see reactions and stuff. There are obviously, key logical places that make sense, like obviously this being manipulation that broke into a new high and everything. But that being said, obviously, if the longer term move is going to be bearish and that's going to be the reversal of trend, then that's what we have to follow, right? So, but like I said, for now, So yeah, for me, it does look like, again, like I think what I was saying there was really we just want to wait and see, not really looking to attack gold. But yeah, I think I did end up taking an attempt inside of this level here at the bottom, and then I stepped away from gold, from there because I really do want to see what does end up happening. I mean, for me, when we do look at the structure, I mean, again, like it's just looking more and more bearish, right? Although the pushes down are so aggressive, it does make me think eventually, with the aggressive push downs, right? Eventually these can maybe end up becoming like a big accumulation that then ends up continuing to bring us to the upside. Because again, it's not like we're like holding lows very well. You know what I mean? As we're breaking lows, we're not below the previous lows for very long, right? Every single time we're getting those big reactions, and that for that reason, that's really why we were thinking of continuing to look for the longs because even when we sold off right into this area, I mean, again, we got back into a place of pretty significant structure, right, which is this push to the downside here, right, and we did so, and we had a huge reaction, right. But again, from there, we recognized the distribution that happened. I don't remember which episode we spoke about this, but we spoke about this distribution as well for sells, and that did end up being the top all the way down, right? And the structure just kind of continued to hold and continue to hold until we are where we are now. So until that structure, I guess, breaks, really we got to go ahead and just continue with, either one, take a wait and see approach, wait to see for a nice buy setup, or two, we're just gonna have to, allow the selling to continue, right? Because again, when we look at gold, the structure is bearish now, right? Especially with that new low. When we look at silver, the structure is also very bearish, right? Again, big push to the upside, push back down, right? We have this structure looking like this now. So not the best, right? Not really the best for the buyers right now. So we'll see, right? Again, like seeing us get back into these extreme lows here, seeing us get back into these extreme lows here and reacting, definitely brings, maybe a potential sweep potential, right? We can look at it, kind of look like a sweep, especially just given how we ended up reacting, but I think it's too early to tell, right? So we'll see. But yeah, there's gold, there's silver. Now let's go ahead and go into the indices. All right, so indices last time, I believe this is the one that we actually called out very, very nicely on Wyckoff Sundays last week, which was the shorts on indices, right? So obviously, as you guys know, we've been waiting pretty patiently for them, and this kind of gave a good indication that we might be seeing that push to the downside happen soon, right? And so as we could see here on Wyckoff Sundays, we highlighted this specifically, this daily institutional candle, right? We see these, 3 candles right here, so about like, pretty much relatively equal highs with these levels. We had this one up candle here on US 30, and then we have the candle completely engulf on the Friday of NFP as well, right? So the timing of it all was very interesting because again, on the Thursday was when we made the up candle getting above the liquidity, and then on the Friday we get the push to the downside, right? So for that reason, right, what I pretty much told everybody was to look for pullbacks inside of the area in the next candle, create a wick, and then to see us end up going for a push to the downside, probably below this level, right? So let's go ahead and take a look. I believe that's what I said here. Oh, whoops. Where do we go here? All I've been saying for silver is that, right, we had this big buy up, buying, and then when NFP hit, we could see that huge sell-off down, completely and big push down, right? S&P 500, right? We end up having a beautiful trap, right? Like US 30 is the most, because this is a really good institutional candle here, right? S&P has got a really nice trap candle with that push to the downside too, but it's still a little bit farther, and then same thing with NAS, right? So I do think that there could be a chance to see, potentially, can we get, things like US 30 to sell off to the downside, right? Maybe we can go ahead and target this level here at 5,200 or so, to go ahead and do that, right? So seeing kind of like a retracement back to the upside, right? To then go ahead and head towards this level here. Right, so pretty much that's what we were looking for there on U30, as you guys can see, and yeah, it played out pretty beautifully. Again, we have the beginning of the week kind of creating this consolidation, and then on the Tuesday, on the Monday, we end up, basically sweeping all of that, coming all the way up until New York Open, right, right here. So this was kind of that retracement that we saw happen, right? And then after that, we went down, we made a lower high, and then we continued to break it to the downside, right? And really our target idea was about 5,200, which is right here, and we did see us exceed that, right? So definitely good for, a short there, right? Definitely made a lot of sense to be looking for that. I know some people caught it, for that push to the downside, but definitely, was a little bit of a difficult one to catch. Just because for me personally, I did want to, like originally during the week, I did want to see this wick, really get taken, but we just filled it, right? We filled the whole wick, and then after that, we just, saw a huge sell-off. So anybody who caught that, congratulations. That was pretty much exactly what we were looking for. And then there was things like NAS and stuff like that as well, which also did end up giving a good setup at the same time, although it wasn't quite, as an extreme area as with US 30, because again, we do see that NAS had a much bigger sell-off, right? But yeah, big buy up happened after that, and then S&P as well. We still have not reached that daily trap candle, but yeah, it does look like we might be looking at a reaccumulation for the indices, though. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, that's indices there, right? And then I believe we spoke about crypto as well. Nothing new really happened with crypto. Is a filled wick confirmation. It's just not necessarily it's confirmation. It's just like more so when we have a big wick like that and price isn't really there for a long time. A lot of the times price will either one, just take the wick, which is mostly what I want to see happen because it's also a liquidity sweep, or two, is just going to fill most of it the way that it did here, right? Again, I wouldn't really say it's confirmation. It's not something that we look for to happen, but it is likely, right? So like whenever we do see a big wick like this, either one, like most likely we're going to retrace back into that wick to either one, take it, right, and then sell off, or two, just to pretty much fill the wick, right, kind of give more opportunity to short here. You can almost think of it like an imbalance because price is not there for a long time. And so it offers up, buying and selling in those prices, right? So yeah, that's kind of how we think of it there, almost like an imbalance, not necessarily like a confirmation to like buy or sell or whatever, right? Because we don't really know whether one, like the way that that filled wick is going to play out, right? Either one, it holds and it just kind of, again, offers up in those areas, or two, we end up sweeping, right? For me, again, I personally like to look for the sweeps because it means we create a much more extreme area, right? Anyways, here on BTC, right, once again, big volume on this level, right? Then we end up having a second low here, which is, again, very, very big volume, but lower than what we saw there. So our idea for BTC still holds. We want to see a new low happen with, lower volume to then give us the indication that we can push to the upside. And that hasn't really happened yet. We've seen BTC start to slowly go to the upside since taking that low, right? So I believe we're right around 60. Yeah, we're still around 63. We've recently taken out these highs, right? So we'll see if maybe that can be a catalyst to bring us down towards these levels. But I'm still looking for below 59,000 for BTC. And then from there, we can potentially look for the long-term longs inside of this daily time frame reaccumulation over here, right? So this is our first area of interest here on BTC. And yeah, I do think it's possible that we do see that happening. I do love the huge spike in volume that we did have in this low. We had another spike there, right? So let's go ahead and show the volume, right? So again, big spike here, right? Another big spike there, right? If we can go ahead and take that low on lower volume, we can really get that full volume divergence picture while the price is getting lower, and that can really be a good accumulation sign for us longer term. So that's what we're looking for there for BTC. All right, guys. So yeah, I think that's everything, for what we looked for last week in terms of everything that happened. Nothing's, to be honest, has really changed. It took a while for, dollar to make the first move that we were expecting, which was to fill that imbalance. It ended up doing it all the way on the Friday. So again, I do still think that the plan is really going to remain the same. Guys, we're still looking to long dollar, right? We're still looking to short XXX USD, to the downside for currencies. And then, yeah, from there, we'll go ahead and see, when that can really play out, right? So this is the first zone, right? We're already inside of that first zone. We already have a nice 4-hour down candle inside of that zone. It could be that price opens today and it just gaps up, right? Especially given that, really the update I wanted to give you guys was, and again, he talks a lot, but yesterday, President Trump was quoted saying that the peace deal with Iran is scheduled to be signed tomorrow, which is today, right? And that the Strait of Hormuz will be open to all, quote unquote, right? So he said this kind of before, you know what I mean? Not necessarily in those words of being like we're signing a peace deal, but more so just like, oh, Iran is so weak and this war is going to end super soon, blah, blah, blah. We'll see. We'll see if it's just empty words or not, right? It does come on a weekend, so, it came yesterday, right? So I don't know if it's necessarily market manipulation, given that, like there wasn't really much market to manipulate. BTC didn't really see any big reactions or anything like that from the news. So it's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be interesting to see what happens today. If there really is a peace deal signed or not. I don't know. Like I've been telling you guys since the beginning, I do think that this war is probably not going to be quick. I don't think it would just be a few months. I think it has the potential to be years in, with everything. So we'll see. We'll see today, what it is. But, he likes to talk, right? He likes to talk. So he keeps saying the exact same thing over and over and over again. So yeah, he kind of does say it pretty much every week, to be honest. So we'll see how it goes, right? But there is kind of all the marks for it to maybe go ahead and see some gaps to the upside, right? When I do look at things like dollar, we are kind of set up for it, right? When I look at things even like, even like oil and stuff, right? We could be set up for that as well, right? Because if the Strait of Hormuz is truly going to be opened, this would technically continue to the downside, right? So if that is the case, then we might end up seeing lower prices on oil. But again, we are inside of an area of order flow right now. So could go down, could go up. But for me, really right now, the structure currently as it is still technically bearish, right? We have a sweep here, right? Retracement there, retracement there. Right now we're starting to head down. So either one, maybe in the next low, we can end up looking to see if we get some accumulation zones or whatever it might be, right? So yeah, fingers crossed, guys, fingers crossed, that we do end up seeing that we do end up seeing like some lower pricing just so that we can end up looking maybe for longs if the war is not over, right? So that's what we got to find out. Is the war over? Is it not? And then from there, that's obviously going to be a big catalyst for what's going to be happening in the market. Most likely it's not though, guys, right? But then again, even looking at things like gold, right? If the war is over, I mean, again, the war has been what's really been putting pressure on gold to the downside. Since we had the war announcement, which was all the way up here, that's when we've really seen gold be having this insane pressure to the downside. So now we're going to see. Now we're going to find out. We're going to find out what happens here, because we've already had the sell below this level. We've already had the beginning of a buy up. If we were to gap up, I mean, maybe we could end up seeing, that next push to the upside. I don't know if I have this here. Oh yeah, this is gone now, the weekend prices. But yeah, we'll see what happens at market open here in a couple hours with gold and with everything. It's definitely going to be, an interesting thing, right? So yeah, we shall see. We shall see. Anyways, guys, so again, plan hasn't changed, like I said, right, to get back on track. I think that's definitely important news if anything does happen today. If nothing happens today, then it's going to be pretty inconsequential, right? It's going to be like another day of Trump yapping, right? And so there we end up having, again, here, distribution on dollar a little bit, right? So maybe this push to the downside can end up being a reaccumulation. Either one, we can hold here. Two, my personal hope is that we end up getting one more drive to the downside, especially given that, again, this candle is nice, but the retest candles are not, right? We do have big wicks there on the 4 hour, 2 hour, we also have a lot of wicks, right? 1 hour is where we finally start to see a candle here, and we do have still a wick there, right? So I don't know. For me, this does kind of make it look like liquidity because there isn't really great wicks, great candles on the retest. But given that the 4 hour down candle is there, it could be the case that this is just going ahead, sweeping the low here, and then continuing to push to the upside, right? But again, I would really love to see one more sweep. If we do end up getting below here, guys, I'm going to be looking for the right type of price action to go long. Because again, I am still looking for dollar to go all the way up to 102, right? Again, I know there's a distribution over here to the left, but I do think that is just going to end up becoming a reaccumulation, right? So only time will tell there with dollar, right? But that would be pretty much, again, the same thing happening with everything else, right? So Euro USD made its way higher, at the beginning of, or at the end of last week, right? So again, if we can end up seeing one more sweep up on dollar, one more sweep down on dollar, right? We could end up seeing one more sweep up on Euro USD, which could bring us into that gap, which could bring us into that daily trap candle on Euro USD as well, right? As we could see, we're very, very close to that trap candle. So I would love to see that personally, right? But again, if this does just gap down and dollar just gaps up, then could also be fair, right? Could be that we're just manipulating these highs and then boom, we sell off, right? We'll have to wait and see what ends up happening there with it, right? Yeah, so that's the idea there for EU. And then GU again, same idea, right? GU is already inside of its trap candle here. It did tap into it. But again, I would still love to see another push up. Granted, again, I do think that all these pushes to the upside are just going to be excuses to short. So if there is a good setup here, then perfect, we can go for it. But honestly, I would rather see one more push to the upside, right? And then from there, go ahead and short GU inside of these areas, right? So that's really what I'm keeping my eye on. EU, GU for shorts. NU a little bit less. NU's at a much lower level. We just got below the distro lows, so I probably wouldn't want to use NU. But those are really the main ones I think would probably be GU and EU. USD CAD as well, just made a new high. We have been just trending, right? As you guys can see here, like this is just a ridiculous trend here on USD CAD. So I haven't been paying too much attention to UCAD because of that, right? And then we have USD Chef. USD Chef has recently seen pretty good distribution here, right? So either one, this push to the downside that happened here is going to be us sweeping the low of the distribution to go ahead and go long, right? In which case, again, that would be pretty much the scenario. Again, dollar going long, so that's what we like to see. But hopefully, again, if we can get another drive below here, it could give us a good push to the upside to then, again, go ahead and attack some of these levels here. I think right now we're just adding to the liquidity that's happening here, right? So the liquidity looks a little bit more like that, right? So we can see now that we're adding to the liquidity that's there. So seeing a pullback here makes a lot of sense. And then from there, guys, we're just going to look to long, guys. So still in the same mindset, still dollar longs. We're just waiting to get the right price action to do so and to continue to push to the upside. We see USD JPY here has we pretty much engulfed the entire fast push to the downside that happened on the JPYs. And then now we're pretty much at the top and we're starting to sell off. Again, I do think that sell off is just going to be another reason to buy, right? So again, just still looking to push up towards those highs. So if we do have the war, to answer your question here, so into the war still means a bullish dollar. If the war ends, it's not a bullish dollar, right? With the war going, it's a bullish dollar. So again, my personal opinion is that Trump is just yapping, right? And that we're probably just going to see the trend continue. But yeah, that's pretty much what I'm thinking personally. But I'm still letting you guys know to just keep an eye out for that, because again, that could change the narrative of what we've been seeing for the last couple of months, right? But that's still my personal point of view, is that Trump is probably yapping. We're probably still going to have the war continue, and then we'll see what happens, right? But we'll see. Because again, he has been saying this like every other week for the entire war, is like, Iran is losing. We've taken all of their things and blah, 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 and all that. So not really a trustworthy source is all I'm saying, right? That's all I'm saying. But yeah, that's what I'm looking at for currency, right? So mostly I would say for the shorts would probably be EU would be the best. To go in and continue with the dollar longs, would probably use EU, right? So I would say keep your eye on EU next week, and then we'll see what happens, right? Now we have indices, okay? So indices, after we had that daily up candle here, right, we did end up reaching our target down. We ended up reaching towards this last point of order flow, which again is this push to the downside right here, right? And we've created this really nice daily candle here. I can't even lie, right? So this push to the downside here looks really good. We do even see how the low of this candle, right, ends up running the low of the day from previously, and then we just end up skyrocketing. So I wouldn't be surprised, guys, if we can get pullbacks back into this level to maybe even continue that long, because it's possible that this distribution here has just turned into a reaccumulation as we have gone ahead and swept the low there. I think what supports that is the fact that, again, we're already all the way above here, right? So that could potentially support us continuing with the longs there, right? So if we do end up coming down to here, maybe we can long there again, right? NASDAQ as well, same kind of idea, right? If we do even look at the daily as well with NAS, we do have a nice down candle here. Actually, sorry, it's not NAS, it's S&P. S&P had a good wick here, and it did break the low. Nas did not break that low, right? That's fine. It's just a little bit of divergence. I don't think it's necessarily a bearish sign on Nas. But yeah, that just means that we probably want to use something like S&P or something like US 30 that did break those lows. Because Nas, since it didn't, we could see Nas break that low during the week, right? A lot of the times, if we don't end up, breaking the low on one and then the rest of them do, the other one might fill, or it just might leave that low there, right? It could just be a little divergence between the three indices, right? So if we end up seeing the market, hold this level here, then I do think that a pullback down into this area looks good for us to potentially long again, especially just given, like, again, we did have a good distribution level here, but big down candle here, right? Big down move here. I do think both of those will, potentially be engulfed by the looks of it, right? For me, it's always safer to go with the trend until things have really been completely broken. So that's really what I'm looking for with things like US 30 and stuff like that, right? So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. But that's pretty much going to be what I'm going to say is, like, let's look for pullbacks inside of US 30, come back into this daily candle, and then go ahead and look to bring this long, right? So yeah, we spoke about indices. We already spoke about gold, right? Really, it's just a wait and see approach, guys. I'm not trying to like get aggressive on this or anything. We are in extreme areas, right, and stuff. So we can maybe look to see if this low is going to be a sweep. I mean, see if it's going to be a high risk to reward play to do so, which obviously it would be if we were to, pull back into, let's say, this level. Maybe we can still look for the longs because, again, like, look at how aggressively we came below the low, right? And then look at how aggressively we came back up and engulfed it, right? So technically it does kind of have the look of a sweep. So even if we are long-term bearish and, we end up losing this idea and price just continues to trend, I mean, it's still a really high risk to reward play, right? So I wouldn't mind going for a risk there because if we do end up engulfing, I mean, look at how fast this push to the downside is. We could engulf all the way up to here, right? So it could still be worth it to look for the longs here just because it did aggressively get below this low and we didn't break this structure here, right? It could be worth it. So, again, maybe still we can have longs inside of this imbalance here, right? But again, only time will tell here if we, end up getting good price action inside of that level. Then we can go ahead and play the order flow on the way up would really be the idea, right? Not necessarily trying to buy just off the bottom, but trying to see if we can get some proper price action that brings us to the upside to a new high, right? So if we end up getting reactions off of this level, then perfect. We're going to go for that. To go ahead and continue to the upside there on gold, and then same thing with silver as well, right? It would be right there technically, right? Silver didn't break the low, right, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. So we'll go ahead and see, right? But I do think maybe it could be worth it to explore this idea for that, right? If we do end up breaking through here, then again, there's not really any point, right? But of exploring it any further, right? I'd probably just only look to see if this low holds. And just because it's a very high risk to reward opportunity if it is going to go, right? This is a very high risk to reward opportunity if we did come down to there and, this is truly a sweep, then we could potentially go to the upside there. But again, guys, the trend is very bearish. So obviously use your proper risk management on the idea, right? Decide beforehand exactly how much you're going to risk on this because, again, we are going counter trend. It is more of a reversal idea. But the price action is there, right? We do have the low here. We did sweep the low very aggressively. We did engulf the low as well, right? So then if we do end up seeing a pullback back into this level, it could make sense to see this go long again, from there. Kind of looking at this almost like a type 1 entry model, right? So if we can see lower time frame manipulation happening in this area down here, right? Ideally, I would say here, right? So around like 41.30, right? That's what we're going to want to see happen. Get down into there, do another manipulation, and then from there, if we do a smaller time frame manipulation in this area, we can go ahead and look for the longs from that level, right? So gold there, again, pretty good, move for us potentially to the upside there. So we shall see for gold and silver if that can hold up. All right, guys. Now, BTC is the last one. Could you see it tapping into the distro zone around 43.50, back down into the zone, and then strong buys? I'd probably want to see it happen before getting up to 43.50 personally. 43.50 is a pretty big move up. If that already got all the way up here, I probably wouldn't even wanna buy it anymore. I would personally want to see it happen before we make that move to the upside. Because again, this is where we really have the sell-off come in, right? I'd want to see more structure on the way up as opposed to like if we react from here, that could honestly be more of a sign that we might, and then we come down to here, that could be more of a sign that we might even just continue the shorts, right? But maybe it could play out that way too, right? It could play out that way too, where we just come up into here first, we get back into the zone, and then we buy up. I'd personally like to have this open as a target where we haven't tapped into there yet, and then we see that. But again, the market can play it out any way, possible. But yeah, this could be a zone again. This is the redistribution from last week. Could be a zone to short from, right? Once again, we'll see again if there is any liquidity down here or whatever it is that we can target. If it does just go straight there, I would say maybe we can see that come back down, but tough to say. It could play out any which way, right? For me, again, I think my main focus is the buy just because of the risk reward opportunity. And again, this is more of a lower time frame distribution when it comes to this distribution here at about 43.50. I'm on when you go on the 4 hour, I mean, it's kind of just normal price action, right? We don't really have a full on distribution here. So yeah, because of that, again, I think I'd rather just try and see if this does end up holding and then try and target that level as use this level here as a target. So I personally would rather see the buy side basically hit first. We're closer, right? All we'd have to do is just sweep these lows and then we'd end up getting there, would be kind of my idea for this, right? But we'll see how a price decides to play out, right? As always, right? It's going to be more of a mix of timing and just whatever the market wants to do, right? But definitely could see the way that you're saying play out as well. If we go ahead and tap into the distribution first, I probably would just like it less because then it could just be a continuation of order flow to the downside. If we went there first and then we end up starting to come down, I would feel a little bit less confident that we're going to get, the buys here just because we've already tapped into the order flow. Maybe we're just going to continue to push down, right, and stop everyone out from that level. But I feel like, again, if we went here first and then we targeted this level, we could react from there and then, we still get a nice buy opportunity out of it, hopefully. But we'll see. We'll see how it all plays out. Could play out any which way. Right? And we already spoke about BTC, what I want to see, right? Again, last week what we spoke about was that we did take the low on some pretty good volume, right? That is diverging, right? But for me, again, I want to see the third drive down, right? So we did make our way all the way back up to these levels. Oh, sorry, not to those levels, sorry. We made our way back up to like 63, which is like up here. So now we made our way up here, right? Maybe now from there we can end up getting, again, that's another sweep down to the low, right? Get that lower volume happening here, get that volume divergence play. So I'm still waiting patiently on BTC, not really looking at it, not looking for sells or anything like that, just looking to see this continue. All right, guys. So that's pretty much everything there, right? For it, right? So again, to sum everything up, right? Again, more than anything, I'm going to be paying a lot of attention to the dollar buys. I do think that we will likely be breaking through this level here, right? So it's just about us looking and treating pullbacks as excuses to long, and trying to go ahead and get a buy up towards 100, and then hopefully again hold that until 102 would really be the hope with this. So fingers crossed that we can get something like that, because I do think the next buy up on dollar is going to be another big one. So definitely keep an eye out for that this week, because we wanted to see it last week. We wanted to see the pullback happen and then buy last week. Instead, it took all week to really bring us the pullback. So maybe now in this new week, we can finally get that buy to the upside, which can help a lot of you guys hopefully make some profits to go ahead and continue those longs. So fingers crossed we get that set up, guys. But that is it from me today, guys. All right, that is Wyckoff Sundays episode 20. All right, let's see how this ends up playing out. I'll see you guys once again next week for Wyckoff Sundays episode 21. And we're going to review everything that we spoke about today and see what ended up panning out and what didn't. All right, guys. So that's it from me. All right. Much love. Much appreciation. I will catch you guys on the next live. Peace out. Deuces. Bye-bye.